How's it going, everyone? I'm Keegs, and I may have been slacking in my Marvel coverage as of late, but no more. I just read the first issue of Jonathan Hickman's Ultimate Spider-Man run, and I already know that I want to cover this thing. Like a lot of people, I've been a little less than enthused from the current main Marvel Universe run that's been happening, and I mean, it almost seems like a fever dream where literally no one is acting in character, and it's been going on for so long now that I'm really just tired. But this new run that just started is almost like the exact opposite of that, and it feels like the writers know exactly the kind of Peter Parker story I've been waiting for. The issue does start with some brief backstory to give a little bit of context. So basically, 20 years ago, the Maker was trying to create a world without superheroes that he could kind of control easily, and in doing so, he prevented the radioactive spider from ever biting Peter. Tony Stark learned of this and tried to undo this, which prompted the Maker's council to attack Manhattan, kill thousands, and frame Stark for it. But our story, of course, begins with Peter. He's clearly a bit depressed and looking in the mirror, noting that he isn't getting any younger, which is kind of emphasizing the fact that he feels that he needs to do something more with his life. He greets his kids, who tease him for looking a bit disheveled and tired, and then his rock star of a wife MJ walks in and also makes note of how tired he looks and asks, like, is there something he wants to talk about? Peter's like, yeah, I definitely do, but I gotta go to work, so, let's talk when I get back, it's fine. At the Daily Bugle, when the classic Parker yell comes from Jonah Jameson, we're really pulled in for our first twist and even second twist of the story. Because Jonah isn't yelling actually at Peter, but at Ben Parker, who is one of the managing editors at the Bugle. So Uncle Ben isn't dead yet. It's also revealed that Jonah and Ben are actually really good friends. Peter is picking up Ben to go somewhere when Jonah's like, yo, Peter, you need to wear a tie for this because this is kind of the event that you don't want to look like a disheveled homeless person. They also talk about how Ben is doing, which is a bit foreboding because they haven't exactly told us what was wrong, but clearly there is something wrong and no one wants to say it out loud. Jonah settles on just telling Peter that Ben is one of the strongest people that he knows, and if he really wants to know how Ben is feeling, then he should just ask him himself. It's strange seeing Jonah in almost a father figure role to Peter, but at the same time, it's strangely refreshing. Peter and Ben are walking through the streets of New York, and Peter asks how he is, and Ben asks why. And Peter's like, I mean, come on, you know why, but Ben just kind of seemingly changes the subject. He talks about how after they died, Ben and May took Peter in and treated him like a son, but even with all the unconditional love that they gave him, there isn't a day that Peter isn't sad at losing his parents, which is exactly how Ben is now, and it's revealed to be a memorial service honoring the people killed from Tony Stark's attack, which we as the audience secretly know is the doing of the Maker. And one of the names on the list is, of course, Aunt May Parker. The final speech of the ceremony is that of Norman Osborn's son, Harry Osborn, who Peter has never actually met before here, and Harry's speech is actually a little bit unsettling. He talks about not being okay with losing his father, and that he shouldn't be expected to, which is kind of an ominous thing to end your speech with. Later, back at the office though, Jonah storms out of a board meeting and Ben goes in to see what all the commotion is about when he learns that the board is trying to alter the type of news they produce so as to not anger any of the investors or hurt their stock or anything. So kind of lie or skirt around the truth as much as possible. Jonah was clearly outraged at the idea of tailoring the news to the needs of the corporation instead of honest reporting, so he actually quit. Wilson Fisk walks into the room and is like, be happy, Ben. You're only a couple years away from retiring with a full pension, and now you're going to get Jonah's position to be the head of the paper. That is, of course, only if you want it. But of course, Ben runs back, hops in the elevator with Jonah, and they quit together. Later that evening, Fisk is getting out of his car when it unexpectedly blows up. There is really no mystery here though, because we immediately see it was the doing of the Green Goblin in a super high-tech suit likely patented by Oscorp. I can't possibly imagine who that might be. And then later we cut over to Ben and Jonah having some drinks in a pub, and Peter stops by to check on them, where they decided that they're actually going to start their own news agency. Jonah asks Peter to join them, but he's like, yeah, I actually need to get paid since I've got, kids and a life. And Ben says, it's okay. If you want to join us, then that's great, but if not, then no worries. But Peter says it's kind of a little different than that. It's not so much about the job, as it's a feeling in him that something in his life is missing, and he doesn't really know what to do about it. Ben says though that if you're not happy, then you need to change something, and if you feel like you're walking around half asleep, then wake the F up. Though I think Ben says it a little bit nicer than I may have. Peter goes home to MJ and has a similar conversation with her, and I mean, she's awesome. She's just like, I know there's been something bothering you for a while now, and it's okay to make a change. I trust you. But will it change what we have between us? But Peter, in a nod to a fans, I think, immediately shuts that shit down. He's like, nothing will ever change what we have, and I think this is straight up to tell the audience that MJ is here to stay. And with that, Peter makes his decision. The previous night, Peter had gotten a box from Tony Stark explaining everything to him, telling him that his destiny was stolen from him, but within this box, Tony tries to set things right and change the world. If Peter wants to take back what was stolen from him, then now is his chance to do so. He opens the vial and releases the spider onto his hand, remembering all the support he has from his family, taking his first steps to greatness. And thus concludes the first issue in this epic story that's about to go down. I don't know how you felt about this issue or the series going forward, but I am completely hooked and I cannot wait to see what happens next. It's awesome to see this adult version of Peter with a loving family and a living Uncle Ben. I hope he stays that way, but I'm not going to hold my breath either. It's also so cool to see a real mentor/father figure from Jonah, though I predict that Jonah isn't going to like this new superhero/supervillain trend that starts to emerge here in the city. I also think it's really important to note that Green Goblin is already out there. This is before Spider-Man even exists in this universe, so there is really no argument that Spider-Man is the cause of attracting all the crazies in the city, because they clearly existed before Spider-Man ever even became a thing. Let me know your thoughts on the story though. I'm really interested to hear what everyone thinks. I'm Keegs, and I will catch you all next time for some more Spider-Man content.